Oh, God. Good morning, staff. Is this thing working? All right. Welcome to Faith Connect, everyone. Edmonton. Shelter is doing a big day with Demo Crew Plunge, I believe, so they will not be joining us. They are dealing with the students right now as we speak. So today it's just us in Edmonton, and potentially if there's some of the other offsites joining us, welcome. As we're trickling in, you guys can just get settled. Bill's on vacation. In classic Drew fashion, I totally forgot I was doing this last week, so I wasn't there. But I'm here now, so welcome. Couple announcements for everybody. It's warming up outside. Yeah. David is wearing his mustard seed socks. They look really, really cool. Check out with Communications if you want a pair of those. And exactly a month from now, in April, we will be in the midst of Volunteer Appreciation Week. So I'm sure stuff will be coming out in regards to that at every location. And specifically here in Calgary, you guys will hear more about those plans in about a week's time. So now I'd like to invite Derek up, who's our church engagement coordinator, who will be introducing our speaker, Jeff. So
this is actually Tim.
Tim, sorry.
And it's my great pleasure to introduce Tim. I've known Tim for a long time. He's been such a mentor and a helper to me when I was a pastor, and even now he works for World Vision, so he kind of does a combo of my role and development in Western Canada, and then he also is a vineyard pastor, and he also runs kind of a collective of missional kind of home, but just churches that are kind of pushing the boundaries of what it means to be a church, and he runs this collective called Mosaic. So please welcome Tim.
So I'm really not used to speaking in front of cameras from every angle. Derek said this was the launch of my TV ministry, so that's why I wear a suit jacket. I do work for World Vision, so I've got all my swag. Anyhow, it's a delight to be with you. And before I get into what I want to share with you, I'm doing a little promo. So this is a forum that we have every year with World Vision, and we bring in a speaker just to really encourage leaders. This year, the subject is about soul care. So when you're on the front lines of helping people, sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. So I want to encourage you, check this out. It's going to be a great morning. If you can make it, tag along with Derek. He's bringing a bus. That's what he told me. Anyways, thank you for the invite. Hi, Edmonton. Is it Red Deer too? Red Deer. Can we wave at them? Let's make them feel like they're in the room. What I want to share with you today is really around two questions. Why do you do what you do? And the second question is, what is the heart of the matter? Now, Ray, you were at a service a little while ago, and I just touched on this subject. So this is something that you can talk to Ray about afterwards if you forget whatever I say. What I realize more and more, that in all of us is an inner longing for authentic, real relationship. Doesn't matter who you are, church, non-church, doesn't matter what socioeconomic background you're from. We all would just like to have a few faithful, forgiving friends. I work for World Vision. It's a large organization, does some brilliant stuff. But at the end of the day, the heart of the matter is relationships. So I want to share with you a Hebrew word that kind of sums it up. So this is your Hebrew lesson for the morning. The Hebrew word is chesed. Now, can you say that with me? You got to kind of roll chesed. Okay, yeah, you passed. And for all of you who are not charismatics, you've just spoken in tongues. If you're not sure what that is, you can talk to me afterwards. It's this idea that at the core of who God is, He expresses unfailing kindness. He's faithful. He's loyal. He's full of compassion. In other words, when he builds relationship with us, it's with no strings attached. That even if we don't keep our end of the bargain, he does. Now, I don't know what your picture of God is today, but sometimes growing up, I had this image of God as kind of Jekyll and Hyde. Like, depending on the day, he could be angry God, or tomorrow he could be kind, compassionate, loving God. Furthermore, when I read the Bible, I go, whoa, Old Testament? This is like an angry, warmongering God. Then there's Jesus, and Jesus seems to be full of compassion and kindness. And so does he have a dual personality? Who really is God? The more I journey with Jesus, the more I begin to understand that at the heart of who God is, he is Hesed. Unfailing kindness, compassion, and loyal, even when we don't keep our end of the bargain. So I want to talk about this concept a little bit and give you a picture of what Hesed is really like. Exodus 34, 6-7 says, he is a God of mercy and grace, endlessly patient, unlike driving in traffic today and my impatience. So much love, so deeply true, loyal in love for 1,000 generations, forgiving iniquity, rebellion, and sin. This word is mentioned 248 times in the Bible, so it's a pretty significant word. It's a thread that's woven throughout the story. You see, we're invited into a friendship with God where he keeps his end of the bargain even when we don't. He loves us with no strings attached. He is a faithful, forgiving Father who both waits for us to return home and pursues us even when we reject his love. How many of you have read, this is your quiz for the morning, the book of Hosea? A few of you. Those of you who haven't, it's a baffling book. Because at the very beginning of the book, God asks a prophet named Hosea to marry a prostitute. And he says, furthermore, this prostitute's going to cheat on you. Your wife's going to cheat on you. But I want you to go ahead and marry this prostitute. And it's going to be a picture of my relationship with the nation of Israel. That even when this nation is not faithful to me, I will be faithful to them. Can you imagine? Can you imagine your job description? God showing up one day and saying, I want you to marry this prostitute, and I want you to remain faithful to her or him, even when they don't return in kind. He's a promise-keeping God where his covenant and commitment to us is never on the table for negotiation. Unfailing kindness and faithfulness is the glue that forms trust in any relationship and gives us unshakable security. So I want to paint a picture for you for what would happen when two parties would come into this kind of covenantal relationship. It's a little bit gory, but it's profound. So if Derek and I decided to come into a covenant relationship, what would happen is we would go kill an animal. We'd cut it in half, and then we would do this figure eight, and we'd end up on opposite sides of the animal facing each other. That's pretty earthy. Then we would pledge our lives to each other and promise to take care of each other's relatives if the other died. Now, that's a pretty strong commitment that I would commit to taking care of Derek's kids and Derek would commit to taking care of my kids if I died. There's some stories in the Bible where that happened. Ever read of the story of Mephibosheth? What a powerful story. Here's a crippled lad, grows to become an adult. David and Jonathan, two friends, come into a covenant relationship. Jonathan gets killed in battle. He's the heir apparent to the throne. David then rises to be king. And a few laters into his kingship, he says, Like, are there any relatives of Jonathan that we've forgotten about? And somebody goes, oh yeah, there's this crippled guy named Mephibosheth. David says, bring him to me. Mephibosheth comes, he thinks, man, my life's on the line, right? David's probably going to kill me. Instead, David says, you are welcome at the table. You are welcome at the king's table. Furthermore, I will give you all of your inheritance. What a picture. In that covenant, they would seal the covenant by cutting their wrists and grasping each other's hands or wrists, and the blood would commingle. We thought tattoos was pretty cool. They would insert part of each other's name into their name. Abram became Abraham when God came into covenant with Abram. God inserted his name into Abraham's name. Pretty cool. They had to exchange gifts that were symbolic of their identity. When Jonathan went into covenant with David, he gave him a tunic, a sword, and a bow. Yet the truth of the matter is that we've all experienced betrayal and broken trust in relationships, haven't we? Maybe it's in your relationship with God, you feel some disappointment. Maybe you're holding him at arm's length because there's some disappointments, some unfulfilled promises where God's not come through the way you would have imagined or expected. Maybe it's in even some working relationships. God forbid there's any conflict at Mustard Seed, right? That there's any kind of broken trust. Are there still walls around your heart when it comes to risking again in relationships? Because you've been betrayed. A covenant has been broken. Because you've been taken advantage of in a relationship where you feel used and abused. We've all suffered betrayal and broken trust. The good news today is that you have a God who remains faithful, shows you unfailing kindness, and will keep his end of the bargain even when we don't. I want to share a story with you that highlights this kind of hesed, and then leave you with a couple of questions. I'm married to a wonderful woman named Esther. She had 3 sisters. One of her sisters, named Lily, was a single mom. Now, Esther and Lily grew up in a missionary home, Christian background, had heard the message of God's love all of their lives. You see, Lily knew that message of Hesed up here, but she had never really experienced it down here. One summer, we were on a vacation in the Shuswap Lake area. And she was there with her son, and they were down by the lake, and she had on her favorite butterfly earrings. And one of those butterfly earrings fell off and was lost on the beach. She loved that set of earrings so much that they spent most of their time for the rest of the vacation down at the beach searching for that lost butterfly earring, to no avail. We left the vacation spot. Unbeknownst to us, Lily, in her mind, was praying to God, if you're real, if you really love me, would you find that butterfly earring for me? A whole year goes by. That means the spring thaw. That means the lake has risen and receded on the beach. We go back to the same spot. We're there. Lily's there. Jordan, her son, is there. We search and we search and we search for this butterfly earring. Again, to no avail. Lily again is praying, God, why haven't you allowed me to find this butterfly earring? Do you really love me? Do you really care for me? 3 months later, Esther and I go back to the same spot in the fall. We're down the beach. We're not even searching for the butterfly earring. I'm just poking around in the gravel and sand. All of a sudden, I see this glittering object. I pick it up. Sure enough, It's the butterfly ear. We took that home to Lily, and she just began to weep. Now, did that resolve all of her lack of trust? Did that resolve all of her questions around, does God really love me? No, it was one step. At 39, Lily was diagnosed with liver cancer. We prayed and we prayed for physical healing. And during that period of having liver cancer, she started to listen to a tape series at that time on the Father heart of God. And she listened to that series over and over and over again as she was physically dying from liver cancer. You see, she didn't get physically healed, but before she died, she had an encounter with God's unfailing kindness. Because she believed she never measured up. She believed she had blown it. She believed that there's no way God could love her, that God was angry at her. So she had an encounter with Hesed. Now I want to encourage you today, whether you're of faith or not of faith, wherever you're at on your journey, that there is a God who wants a relationship with you with no strings attached. It's not based on your performance review. It's not based on whether you've reached the mark whereby you think he'll accept you. He loves you unconditionally. Furthermore, that is the why of why I do what I do at World Vision and the why of what you do here at the Mustard Seed. That God, through you, wants to be the incarnation of Hesed to people who cannot always pay back in return. If you ever lose connection to that, you've lost the heart of the matter. See, we can get caught up in all the rigmarole of the daily routines, the programs that we do for people, and lose the heart of this kind of relationship. And I want to encourage you today, first of all, to just open up your heart again to receive this Hesed, this unfailing kindness. No matter where you're at with God, no matter what's happening in your other relationships. Furthermore, even as you leave here today, to allow God's Hesed to flow through you to the people around you. We're going to get disappointed. There are going to be people who we think are going to keep their end of the bargain even when they don't. I pray today that even if you've experienced betrayal, broken trust, that in some small way, God would touch you with his healing. That some of the walls around your heart would begin to come down. That you could risk again. And just like Lily, that you would experience again and again and again his unfailing kindness. God bless you. Thank you for this time with you. And let me just pray for you, if I may. Father, thank you that you know personally every person in this room. You know their past, their present. You know their pain. You know their joys. I pray today that you would go to the core, to each one of our hearts, that you would touch us again with your unfailing kindness. Father, where there's been broken trust, where there's been betrayal, would you bring healing? Would you bring reconciliation in relationships? Even in Mustard Seed as an organization, would you bring healing? And then, Father, I pray that at a deeper degree today, as we receive your unfailing kindness, that we would just become conduits. We would become delivery boys, delivery girls of your unfailing kindness to those that you bring across our path. Father, where folks are tired today, where they're disillusioned, where we sometimes see people as projects, would you come again and touch us with your unfailing kindness? Fill us with a love that we cannot produce. Bless each person in this room. I pray today for some surprises of your love in each person's love language in a way that they could understand today. In Jesus' name, amen.
How about another round of applause for Tim? Thank you, Tim. I know for me that was a nice reset for my week. Very encouraging. Thank you. Must-seat staff, volunteers, everyone off-site and on the camera and all the rest of it. Have a blessed day. Let us reflect on this and keep it in the focus of our minds, at least today and maybe for the rest of the week. And please come back next Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. See everybody.